My name is Ugochi Blessing Iwuji.
From teaching to counseling, and now school psychology. From Nigeria to the United States, and eventually to return.
That's something that I want to start as soon as possible. Going back to Nigeria full time is a retirement plan. Um, but going back to Nigeria every summer starting next year is the plan. My dissertation would be on training teachers to be able to understand students with autism. And that's where I start. I'm going to train 5 teachers. If we have positive results, which I think we will, it's going to be continuous, and it's not just going to be autism. It's going to be kids with behavioral problem, intellectual disability, emotional trauma. So it's something that I intend to continue, just one kid at a time, one teacher at a time. So it's not years from now. I'm just going to start it as soon as possible.
But first, internship year is coming, and Ugochi says she is prepared. But her interview, the interview that landed her the internship position, what questions did they ask?
It was more like case studies. So if given the situation, so maybe you're in a crisis situation with a kid, what would you do? If you have a different plan for a kid that is different from other people on your team, how would you fix it? If you have a kid that the principal say, I'm done with this kid and this kid has to go to DAEP, what would you do? They asked me questions like, what situations won't I be able to leave at the door? Like, what home situation or what school situation won't I be able to leave at the door? They asked me how I would react in conflict situations, working with a team. Cool questions like that.
How many people were in your interview?
One, two, three. I had 4 of them. Yes.
Was it nerve wracking to have four people interviewing?
Actually, no. It felt more like a chat. And that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to working with them. It just felt like, oh, let's get to know you. And they just asked questions. We sat there, we talked about other things other than school psych, my life as a school psychology student. So it didn't really feel nerve wracking. And the school psychologist there was a classmate. So it just felt like, oh, we're having a chat. And it just showed me what it was going to be like working with this team. And that's why I'm looking forward to it.
Although she believes her practicum experience prepared her for internship year, it wasn't necessarily easy.
I would say it was the number of students that we had to see. I would really say we were outnumbered. We had lots of referrals. We didn't have enough days, but we still got to do it. I was excited at the result. It was rewarding to know that, oh, we started this, we're done, interventions are in place. But I just felt like it was a lot. I think I was able to get 14 hours in a week, and it also depends on the week, it also depends on the workload. But for practicum, I had a deal where I had to work. Well, I take that back. It was more than 14 hours. 14 hours direct hours was what I was getting in a week. There are times when I have to write reports from home or from my other workplace. And there are times when I've had to work more than 14 hours because of the number of students we've had to see and the days that we have closer to the deadline.
In addition to being a school psychology student, Ugochi is a licensed professional counselor associate. She believes her counseling experience will help her during internship year.
I think so. I think so. Not me tooting my own horn, but I feel like there are questions that I'm going to ask. There are follow-up questions that would come with that. There are nonverbals that I'm going to see that I personally wouldn't have seen or known how to do without the counseling skills. Some people might not need the counseling skills to be able to do all of that, but I think those are the skills that I'm bringing from my counseling profession. I started my program as a school counselor. So I think definitely it's going to help me take care of the emotional parts of the students. when I'm doing self reports for children before the assessments, it's more like counseling for me. It's me being able to show them that I can hear them, empathize with them, and I think those are skills that I got from being a counseling student. I know that I'm going to get other reports from parents, from teachers. We're going to do assessments, but I think the best person to tell me whatever it is that is going on is the student himself. So me being able to bring my counseling skills and getting all of that information, observing, and then putting it together with the assessment and then doing a report, I think it's going to, they work hand in hand. The schools in Nigeria, yes, we have teachers. We have wonderful teachers in Nigeria, but we don't have the special evaluation team like we do here, where if a child is having troubles in school, for us, we just say, oh, it's academic. What else can we do? Okay, yes, with the accommodations in place, okay, maybe we're going to have to do like an extra lesson for this kid. Unlike here, you have a full team: occupational therapist, school counselor, school psychologist, behavioral analyst. Everyone is on the table saying, what can we do for this kid? And I think my origin in Nigeria, I know that we have school counselors that can do the job. I know we have behavioral analysts that can do the job, but I also know that we don't have any of that in Nigeria. So I wanted to get all the skills, just not necessarily relocating to Nigeria, but when I go back to Nigeria, I want to be able to replicate myself a little bit to all the to teachers in school and see what I can also give back to Nigeria.
Do you believe that student behavior in Nigeria versus student behavior in the United States is a lot different, or would you say that it's more similar than what people would think?
It's it's sort of similar, but in Nigeria, you know what's coming. Um, in Nigeria, I can also say we have differences. You have the public schools, you have the private schools. The private schools pay more. If you're in a private school, there's a very lower chance that there will be corporal punishment. In public school, there will be corporal punishment. So most of these things inform the behaviors as to, okay, what am I going to do today? What am I going to get when I do this thing? So I think even in Nigeria, they're different. Here, they're definitely different also, because here it's like, okay, why are you there? There is functional analysis in place to say, okay, why is he behaving this way? In Nigeria, it's just we go for the corporal punishment, or we go for suspension, or you know.
I know here in a lot of the public and maybe even private schools, there's what is called district alternative education placement.
Yes.
Is that something that is also in Nigeria?
No, we don't have that in Nigeria. If you're suspended, you go home for like 2 weeks. We don't also have the juvenile alternative setting. So we don't have kids sent to juvie. We don't have kids sent to the DAEP. It's either corporal punishment or you get sent home.
Is there a school psychology license in Nigeria?
Oh no, there is none. The closest to all of this is studying psychology and becoming a guidance counselor in school. There is no school psychology. If we have any school psychology now, I've been out of the country for it's going to 7 years, so I really can't say never. Someone like me might come here, study school psychology, and go back, and then they studied this and then they started something. So it's going to be like a consulting firm for schools. So they will show up in your school as needed to say, okay, and it's going to be expensive. It's going to be in private schools. So I really cannot say we don't have, but if we do, it's going to be very free and it's not going to be available to everyone. I think if there is trainings online that they can be trained here. I am doing a training this summer with the Burkhardt Center that I feel that will put me in a position to train people. I'm also hoping that this training that I will be giving back to teachers in Nigeria, which will last between 3 to 5 months, a whole semester, I'm hoping that there is a plan in place to give these teachers certification to show that they have gone through this training. So that's the closest I can think of now that I'm going to get certified to be able to train teachers, and those teachers, after the training, hopefully there would be a test, and then they would get certified too to be able to train other teachers. That's the closest I can think of now. But there, if you're asking if there is a license or a certification in place right now, there is none.
From the United States to Nigeria, from praxis to jurisprudence, from internship to licensure, what will you do as a school psychologist? All this in school psychology.